Imagine waking up one morning, grabbing the newspaper, and seeing your own obituary staring back at you from the front page. Even worse, the whole world is describing you as a merchant of death. This isn't fiction. This was the real experience of Alfred Nobel, and this mistaken obituary would go on to change the course of human history. It all begins in 1847. An Italian chemist named Ascanio Sobrero combines glycerol with nitric and sulfuric acids, creating one of the most powerful explosives ever known, nitroglycerin. This invention was truly revolutionary. But it came with a huge problem. Nitroglycerin was so incredibly unstable and deadly that Sobrero himself came to hate his own creation. Years later, he would say, "When I think of all the victims killed during nitroglycerin explosions, and the terrible havoc that has been wreaked, I am almost ashamed to admit to be its discoverer." Sobrero firmly believed that nitroglycerin should never be used. But in his laboratory, a young science enthusiast named Alfred Nobel had very different ideas. Alfred Nobel saw enormous potential in nitroglycerin. He imagined it being used for mining, for construction, and yes, for military applications. He dedicated years of his life to trying to make nitroglycerin controllable. The process was like something out of a thriller movie. His factories exploded not once, but twice. Dozens of people lost their lives in his experiments. His own younger brother, Emil Nobel, was killed in one of the blasts. Alfred himself narrowly escaped death on multiple occasions. Finally, in 1867, he achieved a groundbreaking solution. He discovered that by mixing nitroglycerin with a porous silica powder, he could stabilize it. He had just invented dynamite. Industries around the world hailed it as a brilliant innovation, and Nobel's fortune grew at an astonishing rate. But this incredible success was shadowed by a dark reality. The majority of his immense wealth came from a substance that ultimately made the world a deadlier place. Then came the turning point. In 1888, Nobel's brother Ludwig died. But a French newspaper made a critical mistake. They thought it was Alfred who had passed away. The next morning, the headline was blunt and brutal. Le Marchand de la Mort est mort. The merchant of death is dead. Nobel read his own obituary while he was still alive. And for the very first time, he fully understood how the world truly saw him. He wasn't seen as an inventor, or as a scientist, or even as a successful businessman. He was seen as the man who provided people with faster, more efficient ways to kill each other. This realization shook Nobel to his very core. And it was in this moment that he made the decision that would completely change the direction of his life and his legacy. Nobel's greatest discovery wasn't an invention, it was a product of deep regret. He knew he didn't want to be remembered this way after he was gone. So he made a radical choice. He rewrote his will, dedicating 90% of his entire fortune, yes, almost all of it, to establish a system of prizes for the betterment of humanity. When he died for real in 1896 and his will was revealed, Europe was in shock. No one could believe that a man who had earned his fortune from the tools of war would tie his name forever to peace and human progress. But Alfred Nobel's personal remorse became an extraordinary and lasting legacy for all of humanity. The Nobel Prize in Physics, the Nobel Prize in Chemistry, the Nobel Prize in Medicine, the Nobel Prize in Literature, and of course, the Nobel Peace Prize. These prestigious awards, which have changed the course of history time and time again, were born from a journalist's simple mistake and one man's profound moral reckoning. The ultimate irony of this story is just how similar the two inventors were in their regrets. Both Sobrero, the inventor of nitroglycerin, and Nobel, the man who perfected it, came to regret the consequences of their work. Sobrero said, "I am ashamed of my discovery," Nobel feared. "People will remember me as the merchant of death." One inventor unintentionally created a dangerous tool, while the other inherited its consequences and, in trying to atone for them, unintentionally built a legacy of peace. This is one of history's rare and incredible examples. A wrong discovery, plus a wrong interpretation, plus a mistaken news report, all adding up to a legacy that truly changed the world. Just think about it. If that French newspaper had not mistakenly declared the wrong person dead back in 1888, the Nobel Prizes that we know and respect today might never have existed. It's one of history's greatest lessons. Sometimes, a single mistake can change the fate of all humanity.